of you to another session of morning market preparation. Those who are listening this on YouTube, this is a session I have with my 7 a.m. club that every morning, early morning, we sit together and we do some preparation on the basis of technical analysis in the markets. So, starting with a general premise that Nifty and Bank Nifty right now, as we had discussed yesterday, a lot of things are still remaining in the same place. In the sense, our style has become and evolved now that you guys have got used to it. First point is that we always look at the phase of the market and then try to develop certain scenarios that might be possible for the near future. And number of scenarios put together is important. Just one scenario will not help. Okay, we have got the chart of SGX right now in front of me. This is the hourly chart of SGX, and this is the 15-minute chart of SGX. If you notice, there is something similar compared to what we saw 3 days back over here, at the lower levels, uh, back over here. The movement which is happening right now on SGX is very close to what we saw happening earlier also, right? So this accumulation phase and this breakout, which might happen today, is essential. Now, a lot of things in options and open interest of options are spoken about these days, and many people observe this. I have observed this from a very long time, that the play of options when I was in the first year of college, how the open interest engages with the different expiry dates. Now, this week's expiry, and we see it happening when a month shift also happens. A lot of standing open interest and a lot of strong, suppose in this case, when the market was trying to go up but did not go so much up yesterday. Yet, when that expiry is done with, and we are now on Friday, it might continue to really go up because we have seen some sort of accumulation, and we need to see that the market sustain above the 12,170 zone. This 170 zone is something we clearly marked out. Okay, so any gap up scenario could be a possibility as far as our technical analysis is speaking. Now, the fact that, okay, first premise is the fact that we saw lower levels are taken out, and now the lower levels where the market reached completely rejected. So the weekly chart, makes a very interesting chart. And after this, when I said there's some sort of a head and shoulder, inverse head and shoulder possible, I said that there could be some consolidation because a V-shaped rally is not something a everyday scenario, right? And this consolidation has probably started to happen, which means both up and down movements. Now, let the volatility taper down. I always say let the volatility taper down, then we discuss the levels, and then suddenly a move comes. So if that sort of scenario again happens, that suddenly a move comes and it is powerful enough to support a lot of evidences, then it should be something we should look forward to go ahead and do, right? Similarly, for Bank Nifty, actually I'm not having a very bearish bullish view at all. First of all, we have a bearish engulfing pattern which has taken out a lot of lower levels, and we have been continuously going down. Okay, continuously going down. So this entire candle and the structure and the flow, not the structure, the flow of movement is more poised towards the downside. So if there are any intraday movements, that should be looked at from a very conservative point of view. Okay, from a very conservative point of view of bullishness. On the other hand, when Nifty could actually, if it crosses these levels and sustains above 2170 in Nifty spot, sorry, 12,170 in Nifty spot, then it is something which is showing us strength. But in case of Bank Nifty, the daily chart is showing us some sort of weakness. And I always mention candlestick is about the flow. If you notice some of the bank stocks, okay, we were discussing about stocks like SBI. Okay. Um, the only PSU bank which actually performed in a way from a bullish perspective was SBI. The rest, like PNB, etc., were majorly going down to sideways. We have got some banks which have showed us good downward movements, and it becomes a little difficult when there is a mixed bag scenario because market is in consolidation phase. Okay, up moves are not sustaining on major stocks, and yet some stocks are showing us very strong movements. As markets become more complex, this becomes a general norm. The complexity of a trend comes with the confusion of sentiment. I repeat, the complexity of a trend comes with the confusion of sentiment. For example, when the market is supposedly going one sided, the major part of participants, leaders, followers of the trend are poised towards one direction when there's a lot of confidence towards one direction. But when there is some sort of doubt around the trend, I'm not talking about the retail trader doubting the trend. I'm talking about people who have confidence in taking actions or who've gone along over here and they're booking profits at some point. Okay. When a lot of people are not showing one-sided sentiment, that psychological impression comes on the chart. One of this, and I mentioned this in another way yesterday. Those who are watching this on YouTube can go and check out yesterday's and other days' videos. When there is a mix of sentiment, it is also shown to us by the mix of market breadth. So you have a stock like Hindustan Unilever. We discussed this yesterday and said, it becomes very high probability to see follow through after such tight consolidation breakouts have happened. So although the chart looks very small because of this huge candle on the hourly chart, but a movement of 50 rupees came from the low to high, roughly 50 rupees, to go through, and we are at a lifetime high. Okay. Today, my personal way of looking at the markets, two stocks we have kept on our radar, and we have mentioned it yesterday also. One is TCS, to look forward to see some bullishness. I said how it unfolds will be determined, but there is a cup and handle breakout, and that also has some Elliott wave cues, which I will discuss once the waves are more clear. Then we have Infosys, which also was something. Now understand the value of keeping a stock in your radar and acting at the right time. Since 5 6 days we've been talking, or 4 5 days we've been talking, that has not been a very friendly stock because the markets have been choppy on the chart, right? And finally we see that it is making a higher high above the entire range yesterday. Now I did have a Bollinger Band analysis, although the Bollinger Band analysis did not say that it's closing above the band, but there was a narrowing of the band in the recent past. And this consolidation near the middleman is showing me, near the middle band is showing me that there is some consolidation near the mean. Okay, so this is a breakout which is happening. Now, not always the breakouts happen and they have to go strength by strength. But the reason why I teach you and I have taught you a lot of supporting indicators is so that we can use the subtle principles from there and understand that yes, maybe something interesting can happen. Like for example, when we look at the Bollinger Band, it has not gone and closed above it, but it has made higher highs. So I can take maybe 1 or maximum 2 days and say that there is a high probability that in the next 2 days there should be something big happening with Infosys. Probably today itself. Okay, and I may be completely wrong. We're dealing with probabilities, but this is the inference which I'm getting closest to. Or at the same time, we have got stocks which are performing in the same sector. Tech Mahindra, we've got TCS. Overall, the Nifty IT index is close to a lifetime high. This is the monthly chart. This is the high of Nifty IT index. Okay, 1 minute. Yeah, this is the high 720, and we are at just 20 points away from the high. Well, that was yesterday's high. So if these consolidations were to break out and give a massive movement, this means there is a chance we are breaking the lifetime high. If I look at the weekly chart, and this looks like a cup and handle pattern that is in continuation in nature. Now I've taught you all certain properties about patterns. If you remember, cup and handle has certain properties. I'm not going to confuse everybody who's watching this video on YouTube also to give into the details or waste time on the details and preparation time. But this cup and handle and the candlestick cluster which you see over here, all this put together is telling us some sort of story, and the development of the handle is telling us some sort of story. So what did I tell you all about the development of the handle and the time it is taking, right? This is something which is reliable. Amongst the different scenarios we discussed, this is something which is reliable. Now we have to say that it is going to yet break. It is not yet broken out. It's not made a higher high also, but it is on the brink of breaking out. So on that perspective, Nifty IT should be 100%, it should be on your radar. It goes up, goes down, regardless, it should be on your radar. End of story. You have to have things on your radar which is strongly poised to go up and strongly poised to go down. These things should be always on your radar. I just pull out the Nifty IT stocks. 1 second. Where did this go? IT. So these are the Nifty IT stocks. Flipping around the daily chart and the hourly chart of these different stocks, there has been a broad-based bullishness. Even Just Dial is coming under the Nifty 80. Broad-based bullishness. Okay. Except for NIT Technologies, which has been long-term bullish, but in the recent past has been slightly slow. Other than that, all IT stocks are showing broad-based bullishness. This is showing us breadth. This is showing us market breadth. Okay. So we need to have stocks like these. Okay, Wipro is also a bit stagnant, but yeah, most of them are showing us broad-based bullishness. So we need to have these things on our radar in order to benefit from the movements. And one of these days could be like there's the secular IT sector movement. Okay. A lot of times IT sector is correlated by market going down, and all the other stocks are not performing. And yesterday I was saying that these correlations sometimes go together, sometimes there's a decoupling. So when that's not, when there's some decoupling, when there's some coupling, we need to be very, very careful about how we are perceiving this scenario. Okay. A lot of news, small news, although not very company specific significant news, but around the IT sector has been there. Amongst Infosys, a lot of respite has been seen also, with all the sentiment which became suddenly negative. All that has tapered down. So we've got certain things going on with the stock, and we'll have to look forward to see how it unfolds. Okay. TCS, on the other hand, is one stock on the radar, and we noticed that the range is still intact on a broader range. Smaller range is broken, but the broader range is still intact. So how many base building do you need, sir, in order to make a big move? So we saw one base building, there's a breakout in this point. So another base building breakout in this point. We need to see a breakout of this point in order to go further up more. Although being bullish previously is there, but I want to point out that those movements are necessary for a push to come in intraday, and that push has to come. Okay, so we need to be careful about that part and be selective. So if there is a fresher movement in case of Infi, but a less fresh movement in case of TCS, the TCS needs to be letting go until it unfolds with those gap ups or it unfolds with those range breakouts in intraday. Okay. Other than that, we are good to go, and IT sector should be on your list. We've been talking about some other stocks also recently, and for today especially, I would say that it is better again, just like, you know, if we look at stocks like steel sector, look at cement sector, which have given us both up and down moves in the recent last 2 3 weeks. Okay, that you let things unfold on their own. Another sector which is coming up is pharmaceutical sector. Okay, so first of all, healthcare, pharmaceutical, all this. Apollo Hospital is on my radar. Okay, let's just remove the Bollinger Band. Apollo Hospital is on my radar. So I see that there's a resistance area of 1716 around zone. These highs 1717, and I'm going to keep this strongly on my radar in order to see if this area is being broken out. I've always told in class, in case of uptrend, look for the breaking of resistances, not the taking of resistances. And this entire range is in the middle of a bullish move. Okay, I was not touching the stock, although I'd spoken about it a few days back, but it was showing us confidence of us. It was showing us some sort of a resting in the trend. But now that resting could be getting over. And keeping the longer time frames in mind, the weekly chart, the daily chart, I guess the upper direction should be our bias. The bias should be there on the upper direction. We also see that the zone of RSI, and I'm saying it, and while I'm drinking my morning coffee, my mouth is watering looking at the area where resistance has been taken on the RSI. So we have spoken about certain RSI range factors in our class, and now there's a boom movement that would happen. This is how you do your analysis. First, you go to the weekly, and when I'm talking about these things, those who are watching it for the first time might think, oh my god, he's coming and telling stocks. No, we have been tracking these stocks from some time. And it's just that when the movements with the trend are coming, we as trend followers are following it because we want to be number one with the strength. Number two, we want to be when there is a movement. Okay, so above the areas of 1717 should be our lookout. Now, can it consolidate more below that? Yes, but I'm just giving an example that we have to keep it on our radar for the next 1 2 3 days. Maybe something extraordinary happens. Okay, not saying that it has to, but maybe it does, right? Okay, so when I see the healthcare sector, just 1 second, let me pull out this chart. Healthcare, amongst the healthcare, some other stocks which have been on our radar, again, Dr. Reddy. See the weekly chart of Dr. Reddy. I had mentioned this sort of a long-term range breakout, which resistance breakout, which has happened. And on the daily chart, although we did not see it in the last two days or so, okay, there were so many other stocks also to discuss. There has been a strong movement which happened after the first 4 hours of consolidation in the morning, first 3 hours of consolidation. So yes, when you are seeing such structures continue on a script, and if you remember our class on Elliott wave theory, we spoke about wave counting, and if somebody remembers something close to this, they might understand that this could be a part of a huge movement. Now, Elliott wave theory is slightly separate from the classical technical analysis, but if we look at the movement, okay, sorry, 1 second. What I'm trying to say, this could be a smaller subwave, which could be continuing of a bigger wave, right? So we need to keep these things in mind. There is a strong volume candle and it is building on strength. So Dr. Reddy is our man, right? Dr. Reddy is the thing which is again one of the strongly poised thing in the sector. I'm not saying all the stocks in sector on this sector are ripe to move, but in the near past, some of them have been slightly bullish. One of those stocks which we have kept on our radar as potential bearish has been Lupin, and this again attracts my attention because Lupin particularly has shown us. So we have been talking about Lupin from here, that it should be a potential sell from these points. And even though there was a pullback, which was quite sharp pullback, but there's still been a lot of fall which has happened. I know in a bullish market, a lot of us have traded more bullish stocks. Completely understandable. Some of you have also traded Lupin and short positions. Right now is a very interesting time for Lupin. Okay, and if the market has to follow through, we have to keep in our minds that we can have if the market has to correct, for example, we can keep in our minds that we can look at the stocks which are showing us strength on the downside. That would be something which is important for us. Okay, so just 1 second, guys. Yeah, and even if the market is not going down, the defensive sector like pharmaceutical can, okay, so there can be a mix, like we are seeing some sort of a mixed bag. I'm just pulling out the areas with this strength and the areas with this, like for example Apollo Hospitals is not a part of the Nifty Pharma, right? Anyway, so we are seeing that in Lupin, just to say, these areas were very strong, big wave movements. Okay, if this is a subwave which is big, okay, I know it sounds very subjective of me just writing the word big, but those who have not done a class with me, they will not understand. But overall, over here, you will understand what I'm trying to say. This subwave is having showing us small waves, right? And this is showing us big waves. So if there is something big which has happened recently, and there's a 90-degree cut over here, there's a consolidation going on, you can do the basic logical analysis that if this is a long-term trend, okay, these kind of moves can be reversal also. I'm not saying anything can happen in the market. I've always kept that and maintained that. But oops, this is the weekly chart, and this is a weekly interaction zone, which is important. And on this weekly interaction zone, the market is standing, Lupin is standing. So you are looking at a zone which is on the daily chart important, on the weekly chart important, and now the hourly chart important. If there are sudden movements which are making it go below this range, my bias is going to be on the bearish direction. My bias is going to be on the bearish direction. And I'm going to look at it in a bearish manner. We have also seen the play of RSI range being on the lower end of towards 20 and then hitting the 60 area. So we are totally in the bearish zone. Okay, so this is one stock one can keep on radar, which is Lupin. According to the preparation which I do, I feel it is important to have some stocks which are showing you a lot of strength in one direction. So something like a Hindustan Unilever. Okay. On the other hand, it is also important to have a certain set of stocks which are yet to push in one direction, like we did for Infosys, because they can give you follow throughs maybe in the second half of the market, if not first half, maybe we can give you fresh signals, etc. In this case, maybe it can give you something bullish, not necessarily it has to give you bearish. Before your trading day starts, before you are looking at a price, Your mind should be from a neutral perspective. If you become biased emotionally, there is a logical bias we have towards the downside. We have different time frames as a reason for that. But but we cannot have an emotional bias towards this talk, right? So these things I have always contributed to telling you in terms of trading psychology are the most key things. Like for example, in case of Nifty, sometimes when we just marked out the levels, but because we are neutral, we can easily participate. We have the confidence to, right? So Lupin, again, something which is like the superstar of bearish moves at the moment. It's been a long term bearish movement, a high underperformer in the pharmaceutical sector. So keeping this thing is important in mind, and we've got some things that could happen. On the other hand, so we keep this simple, we keep it easy, we keep it limited number of stocks, and the more limited we will be, the better it will be for us, because we are not seeing that the market has run with the fire in some direction. Okay, we are seeing that the market is broadly sideways. Okay, we are speaking of stocks like the sector, cement sector like Grasim, etc. Okay, showing us loose movements, not very strong movements. It's okay. Okay, we have got something interesting in the Torrent Pharma stock, right? It has made new life highs, and it has, it has been on my radar since the stock was over here, and there have been certain wave counts that attracted me over here. Now, if this entire thing is a correction, this is a trend. Right now, we are playing on the momentum. If we look at the momentum of the stock, it's completely strong. It's a more volatile stock, so that is why I don't track it much until I have some prepared things on it. But given the fact that we're hitting lifetime highs, some morning follow through could happen. At least the first half follow through could happen. This is what I could stand by. Okay, just like for example, it happened over here after a big movement which happened. Okay, the second half it made a new high. Oh, sorry, the first half on the next day it made a new high. Likewise, some sort of morning gap up or some dips to buy on could be like the general mass mentality, because the stock is so bullish. So what happens is, as a we look at technical analysis in two contexts. One is contrarian, where one is a herd mentality, one is a smart mentality, and the other is a mass mechanism. So a lot of people who wanted to buy the stock yesterday somehow missed it and want to buy this stock. I kept it on the list. Those masses will try to buy at the first support zone. That's psychological, how the mass mechanism creates the zone. So any move towards 2050, 2050, 2040, these areas, if there is a dip, this could be something which is going to show us something what Unilever showed us yesterday. A dip comes and going back, boom again, right? So this stock is on my radar. Again, one of the stocks which we have spoken about, but I don't talk about it so much because I don't trade it so much, is Titan. There could be bullish movements which follow through, but I don't trade it. I'm not really when it comes to certain stocks, because of the changes in the volatility. Why people are recommended to track a few stocks, trade a few stocks, or trade what suits them, because certain changes in volatility change the symmetry and the asymmetry of the chart. And if you're not familiar with it, it's okay. You don't have to worry, right? One more stock which we spoke about 3-4 days back was SRT, and I was saying that this is a range breakout, although very choppy stock to trade, but this could lead to some more movements. There has been a consolidation, a resting. That resting phase is over. We were looking at the stock somewhere on these days, one of these days, and now it started to move up again. So again, SRT is one of the more bullish this thing. So we see that there are certain stocks which are poised for a lot of strength. At the same time, certain stocks are not poised for a lot of strength, like Lupin, etc. But we should not the sentiment approach. Okay, a lot of people who try to trade short in these markets find themselves not being able to execute those trades properly, because you see the larger sentiment is not with you. You want to buy puts, you will see puts are not moving so much after a point if the market is sideways, because if you didn't book quick profits, a lot of people have, because there is not so much bearish sentiment. Okay, that must be kept in mind also. On the other hand, when there has to be a bearish sentiment which enters suddenly in any market phase, then all the you will see all the stocks are just slashing through together. That is something which generally happens. Okay, so until that sort of phase comes, I would say ki, okay, don't be too bearish, and if it is possible to sit on the sidelines, sit on the sidelines. It's completely fine. Okay, stick to the spaces of strength. Okay, two stocks which I spoke about yesterday, and they have given certain interesting follow throughs. One of them is McDowell's. We've been talking about and tracking it since this area, this phase, and this line at 672 has been crossed. A handsome movement is happening in this stock. Now, why I didn't take this as a first trade on the radar or the first trade to look at is because maybe it may not be so intraday friendly. So it will have its phases when it becomes intraday friendly. Until then, you keep a bullish bias and track it. Okay, so the execution part is important. That is why we have to see which one is giving us fresh intraday moves or not, right? So that is one part of the story. We have had Marico, which we have not really, seen it moving in a big way, but there are very deep cuts on the chart, and likely follow throughs are yet to happen. So we have to wait, keep it on our radar. So stocks like Marico, Lupin are going to be our stocks for the bearish direction. So let's start making our list. Okay, let's pull the list. Okay, so we see, yes, Nifty is going higher. And today's list is going to be very important because, one thing which we notice is earlier, yesterday, we were not finding a lot of specific things. Now we're finding specific things. Okay. And it is important as a professional trader to be like flexible, number one. Number two, don't doubt anything. There will be stop losses a part of journey. Okay. But don't doubt anything, because if you doubt, then you will not be able to execute. If you're not confident, you'll not be able to execute. So IT sector, okay, let's just write the stock specific. Infosys, TCS. Keeping it simple and sweet. Bullish bias. Now we know the bias towards the direction. Okay. Is this too light a color? Okay, come on, help me with the list about the bearish movements. I need some people to help me. You just heard me. Okay, and make a column for bearish. Bullish move, what else do we have? Apollo. One funny thing today is no cyclical stock of large cap, something of that category is coming up on our radar as a immediate ready to budge thing. And let's take a section of fresh trends so that we don't forget these stocks which are fresh and okay. Thank you for your help. And Lupin, Marico for bearish, and Titan and Siemens. Okay, so let's just check out Siemens once, since Gaurangji is saying and Prashantji is saying Titan. Titan I already checked out, and fine. This could have certain implications, uh, so we can keep it from our bullish perspective. Siemens का problem ये है कि long term trend is very strong. Okay, and we are coming and resting somewhere near a recent support. Until we break it, it's difficult to say anything. And if we break it, which we can, given the size of the movements right now, I would say wait for some consolidation, then look for it, because otherwise it might become an overstretched move, might make a small low, come back or something like that. So ideally, wait for that symmetry to catch up, right? Okay, so that is fine. Thank you, Sagar. I mean, I really like the three, four, five stocks right now, which you guys have mentioned. So, it's okay. You complement your homework with my homework. It's completely fine. There's a homework we are doing together over here, in which there is something fresh. There's something of multiple variables. Okay, and definitely there could be fresh movements which would happen during the market. No doubt about it. So keep a list of stocks from your homework on your radar as well. And everything should be just going smoothly. We will have the markets opening in some time. Okay. Thank you. Okay. One last stock which I will take. Okay. Let's close for the day. Let's close for the day because we're running out of time. Okay. So fine guys, we have got our list ready today. Amongst amongst the bearish stocks, we're looking at Lupin and Marico. Okay, we've got a set of stocks with us. These from the bullish region, and these for the bearish region. Okay. Now, keep these in mind. Speaking about a few large caps like which have been recently trending. Okay. Keep Tata Global on your radar. We discussed this part yesterday also. We need to really watch out for stocks which are showing us strength, because the market seems like from the Nifty SGX movement seems like it could open above the 12,170 zone. We have to still wait because now the fire starts catching up. There's some activity, Asian markets are open and things like that. So we have to wait and watch. It's going to be a wait and watch scenario. But let's see how things unfold. So thank you so much. Long session today, slightly longer than usual one we planned. And I will see you tomorrow again in another morning preparation session. Thank you guys. Have fun. And thank you for those personal messages amongst all of you. And to me also personally, I congratulate all of you who are doing well and feeling the effect of this morning preparation very well. And I will definitely get back to WhatsApp messages again. Yesterday and day before, I've been busy with certain personal things after market hours, but definitely I will get back to some replies, etc. Thank you so much. Uh, I will see you soon. Take care. See you tomorrow. Goodbye. Thank you. And enjoy. Thank you.